Well, I mean, I think to some extent this is just boilerplate talk that one would expect to hear at an SCO meeting. I mean, the SCO's founding principles revolve around this idea of trust and cooperation and respecting territorial integrity and sovereignty. The types of things that several members, in particular, have completely violated, referring to Russia here in its war on Ukraine. But I think it's given the state of the India-China relationship right now. It's in a very tense state since the border clash in Ladakh a few years ago. Any messaging, any conciliatory messaging coming from Beijing is notable. But I think that there's a fundamental constraint, a fundamental conundrum when it comes to the India-China relationship right now, and that is that India has insisted that the two sides have to make more headway in resolving the border dispute in order to have a more normal, formalized relationship, whereas China has said that it's time to overlook the border issue and pursue cooperation beyond that. So, that's a big sticking point, and even though there's been frequent or consistent high-level military dialogue between China and India to ease the border dispute, there's still that fundamental conundrum, and that's where the diplomats, as opposed to the military officers, can be helpful. And that's why I think that it's important that the SCO, that both sides availed of the opportunity at the SCO to sit down, and the two foreign ministers talked, and I'm sure they talked a bit about how to deal with this conundrum. Now, with China and Russia, obviously a whole other story. It's a relationship that's grown, but in an interesting way, in the sense that Russia has become increasingly dependent on China, because China is one of the few big major players that's still willing to provide support, economic, military support to Russia throughout this war in Ukraine, or I should say really economic support. That's what China is providing to Russia. And the more dependent Russia becomes on China, the more leverage that gives China, and that could have certain types of implications that could impact India. If, say, for example, China starts pressuring Russia not to send military arms to India anymore, or if China starts pressuring Russia to try to scale up its relations with Pakistan, that would have implications for India. So, two very different cases: Russia-China and India-China.